Hi, Michelle Gray. How are you doing? And my boy Eric.
I'm doing good. Elisa says, "Hi, Mama, love you."
I
Well,
love
he's
you
blowing you a
more.
nice big kiss.
Oh, so we're going to do part two of Charles Dickens, the inventor of Christmas, of the new rendition to Christmas 2.0.
Mhm.
Part one was quite interesting. Is Mr. Dickens there?
He is here. I've got him all tapped in here. Erik brought him in, and
Awesome.
I can hear his dialect a little bit, or like his sound.
Oh, yeah.
I actually hear and feel him more than I'm seeing him. I've
Okay.
seen little flashes of what looks like a tweed jacket and
Okay.
vest that I
Yeah.
can see, but I'm not getting a whole image of him. But boy, I can feel his personality.
Oh,
And
tell me about it. What's it like?
well, he's very well spoken.
Okay.
Um, but he's also given me this sense of experiencing a sense of loneliness in his
Oh,
life. Like the writing was very cathartic for him in a lot of ways, and that's not really something that he shared so much, but he's very intelligent and um like a philosopher,
okay.
and he was very interested in human behavior.
Interesting.
He really thought people were fascinating. So I feel that because that's something that I'm very interested in as well. And so he was giving me that sense of that something in common between the
Oh,
two of us is we really like to like understand people
that
and
makes
really
for a
get to
great
the
writer.
bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I love to
Totally.
write too. So yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
Can you please ask Mr. Dickens if he has any advice for aspiring writer? And also, this is kind of a segue. How can I become a brilliant writer too? Not me, but people in general. This person.
He says, well, since you're asking the question to begin with, that would tell us that you are a writer indeed, that you do have that blueprint, you have that will within you. So that is the first step to be able to accept that you are a writer and that you are able to put pen to paper, or as some of you may say in your world at this time, your finger to the keyboard,
Okay.
and be able to put out the words that inspire you. So rather than feel that you need to have an organization of chapter 1 to chapter 12, what if you start to write where you're inspired and
Mm,
then follow the organization afterwards? He says, my advice for you would be to get more organized with building your characters, your subject matter, and make a portfolio about them. Something that I did when I wrote was I would often build the character. I would look into what does this character look like as a child? What would this character's family life look like? I would build the character. And so whether you are doing a fiction or a nonfiction, you would be able to look at what is the reader needing to know? What is this information able to help this reader with? Or what is this character going to help share to this person or to this subject matter? Really write from the flow of interest that you have.
okay.
Because if you're writing with interest, people are going to read with interest.
Absolutely. All right. If you could write a book for this is cool. Our modern era, Mr. Dickens, what theme or message would it have?
Very good question, he says.
It
He
is.
says, I would certainly look to write to the truth of humanity.
Mm.
I would be writing about the sovereignty of each and every individual. And likely, I would be including some nonfiction characters.
Oh, okay. Very nice. All right. How do you see the future of books in the digital age? Will reading and writing of books decline in the wake of other content forms?
He says, first of all, he would like to express that there is nothing more beautiful than cracking open a book that has
Mm.
been freshly bound and cracking it open to the very center and smelling the paper
Oh,
as it's been
yeah.
freshly printed. He
Mm.
says the joy of reading is a very personal process. And although I can understand that there's much benefit to digital and to the storing of paper and products, he says the preservation of books will always be. There will always be some value. And he says, and part of what we don't completely see yet is there will be a time where we are not going to be as reliant on technology as we are right now.
Oh,
And we
okay.
will go back to the ability to be able to research and look with our hands and our
Oh,
eyes.
okay. Your method of writing has been called "How to Be Seductive About Serious Things." That the task of writing an art is to make goodness attractive, to make it easier and bearable for us to learn uncomfortable lessons. What do you think about that? Is that true?
He says it is that he really looked to inspire the writing with lessons, with the ability to look at oneself, to examine the life. He says that this is like, think of it as we would understand a life review, and the tale of a story could take someone, the reader, into their own life and start to look at how they feel with others and in relationships and inspire them to make changes themselves by the lessons of the characters or by the explanations in his own writing and short stories.
Okay. Um, all right. What does your afterlife look like? And have you met Jesus?
He says his relationship with Jesus was always intact.
Okay.
It was something that he um, knew that he would look forward to when his life on earth had completed. So, yes, he has met Jesus. In fact, he says he spent recent time with him, as we would
Oh,
understand recent time.
yeah. Okay. Have you met O. Henry, who wrote, oh, I love this book, The Gift of the Magi?
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
Okay.
Um, and he's thinks he's a fine lad.
Oh, that's awesome. What did y'all talk about?
Surprisingly, he says we didn't talk about writing.
Oh,
Surprisingly, he says we talked about things that we'd like to experience. Um, he says it's so weird because he's showing me water skiing, like doing things that had never been experienced before.
yeah, no
He's
kidding.
showing modern day water skiing.
That's funny. Now, do y'all celebrate Christmas on the other side? And what does the afterlife world think about Christmas?
Um, he says that celebrating Christmas is not like we do here on Earth. He says that when we have a holiday, and it's a holiday that often gathers. So, as we gather as family, as we gather with people that we care about, when there's a lot of focus being put on the heart, he says
Yeah.
that that starts to draw in the spiritual world. That
Oh,
starts to draw in your loved ones, all those in spirit, because it's vibrationally very strong.
yeah.
So he says how we look at this season is from the perspective, and he says, and I will speak from my perspective and maybe of some that are close to me over here. But he says that we look at the Christmas season as the time of change. We look at the Christmas season as an opportunity to be able to take stock of who is in your life. He says, think about when you're making out your list of who you're buying for. He says, be honest with yourself. Are you truly looking at who is naughty and nice and who has made it onto your Christmas list? Have they been on your Christmas list before, but now they have been scratched off because there's been a bend in your relationship or there's been some sort of change? Is there some forgiveness that
Yeah.
maybe could be offered. He
Mm.
said, so rather, this is the time of year to think about fresh starts, the time of year to think about change. And we see that coming down the pipe for all of you.
Oh, nice. Forgiveness is so important at this time of year or throughout the entire year. How many lives have you lived? And were you an author in those lifetimes too? Like this one person says that you were J.K. Rowling possibly in this lifetime.
So he's saying over 700 lifetimes on Earth that he's had. And about J.K. Rowling's, he's saying that um, he's more like played the role as a guide,
Oh,
and he's saying
figured.
that they share they're part of the same soul family. So
Oh,
there is a connection there, but he's saying it's not like a full incarnation
yeah.
from his higher self, from his soul. Um, but then he says, but of course, we really are all as one. And he does say that J.K. Rowling has a similar type of blueprint as he,
Okay.
experiencing the becoming, like living a dream, manifesting a dream, the
Okay.
becoming of someone. He says, as a writer, yes, there were other lifetimes where I have been a writer. I have been a writer, whether it has been in a small publishing company, I
Oh,
have been a teacher, but I've also had many lifetimes where I exercised different parts of different types of jobs. For instance, I always enjoyed being more of a creator.
hmm,
And so I did enjoy being on the stage. I enjoyed being in music, but I also enjoyed psychology, and I enjoyed the being able to practice with one's psychology and assisting. He says that there are many different types of healers, and in fact, that is what I would incarnate as a healer, because many writers are
hmm,
healers,
yeah,
as they give opportunity for us to be able to go within ourselves and explore.
that's true. And help heal ourselves. No, Bella. All right. Any special advice as to what we should do to honor our departed friends and family members around this time of year, Christmas?
Well, he says that what most of your friends and family and spirit are looking for from you, and it is what will help you, and that is the acceptance that there has been a change in your relationship, but that does not mean that they are not part of you and part of your experience.
Right.
And so the acceptance of change will allow you to then create new traditions. Or he says, when there's not acceptance, there can be a sense of, I don't want to bring out this Christmas sock, because if I bring out this Christmas sock, it's going to
Mm,
bring up all of the pain
yeah.
and all of the memories. Whereas if we can accept that that is painful, and maybe that will give us a good cry,
Yeah.
and we can hug that sock and say, I love you so much. I miss you so much. I wish you were here in the physical with me, but I know that you are here with me. So I'm going to hang this in honor of how much I do love you and know you are here.
Okay. That's beautiful. Have you reincarnated back to Earth?
He says he had.
Are you still reincarnated, or have you passed
Not
from
at
that
this
one?
time. Not at this time.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. What did you do in that life? The most recent incarnation?
He's saying that he worked for a printing company.
Oh,
He's talking about printing, like um, he says it'd be like marketing. So like printing ads, writing ads for companies. He's showing me like, and this is maybe 1940s,
okay.
1950s, and he's showing like lost dog, and then he goes lucky, with one eye, 3 legs.
Some lucky. All right, that's cool. What did Christmas mean to you when you were alive, Mr. Dickens, and in your incarnation as Charles Dickens?
Well, he said that he's showing me that the connection to religion was challenging for him. And he says, like the Christianity or the Catholic, um, he had a connection with Jesus, but he had challenge with religion. And he's talking about this being a holiday that would um, bring people together in congregation. And he says that he had personally had difficulty in being in that structured. He thought that it was very like sheep. He didn't like that structure.
Oh,
And he didn't at the time understand that there was purpose for that as well. So what he says is that for him, this was more about a connection with Jesus, his relationship, he says, with Christ.
mm,
Um, he shows me sitting at a table, and he's got a very short, looks like a candle's been burning for hours and hours and hours. And I feel really cold, and I'm sitting at this table, and he's writing. And I'm just asking him where his family is and where everybody is. And he says that, we didn't always get together as a family.
mm,
Sometimes there would be his family would go, I guess, with relatives, or some of them would get together. But he shows being fairly lonely a lot of the times at the
mm,
holidays. But he says that he often was traveling, or he was in the middle of a project,
yeah,
and that was just his choice. But he says again, loneliness was something that gave him creative expression. And so if
okay.
that came about, Christmas didn't stop him from
Okay,
experiencing that.
interesting. Um, there's speculation about Jesus' actual birth occurring in March, not December, and the church's revision of dates to coincide with pagan rituals have blurred the accuracy of the Christmas story. They didn't want the pagans to celebrate, I guess. What is Mr. Dickens' opinion about that? Uh, and that pan theology in general, including Christianity and other theologies that he wants to talk about. So, what do you think about that?
Well, he says that there is truth to that.
Mm,
He says this is not this is not a new cat out of the bag.
okay.
He says this is something that has been spoken of prior to his. He's saying like breaking news. Um, but he says that um, there's not really record of anywhere on earth that we are going to see proper record of Christ's birthday.
Yeah.
He says that um, we would be looking closer to the spring
Yeah.
for his birthday.
I think he said in our interview with Jesus, I think he said what month it was, at least maybe it was April. I don't know. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else about that?
He just says that, as he said before, the structure of religion was challenging for him. He said, and he's not being particularly picky on which one it is, because he says it was the extremism that bothered him. When
Yeah.
it was, these are our rules,
Yeah.
it's got to be this way. And it was that extremism that started to become more about the structure and the rules
More
and
about
this.
oppression through rules.
That's right. That's right. And he says it would start to lose sight of the Christ. And he says the Christ Mass. He goes, what is the Christ Mass? He says, the Christ, the Mass is the temple. Attending the temple is this. And he
You.
goes,
Yeah.
and you are the temple. So the Christ is the consciousness in your heart, is
Yeah.
about that within, not the structure.
Oh, that's beautiful. What would you like people to know about the Christmas season? I think I only have one more question.
He's saying a little rhyme. He goes, okay, see if I can get this right. It's time to be merry. It's time to be jolly. Have a tip of sherry. Hang a piece of holly. He says, lighten your load. Allow this time of year to truly be about the heart and
Yeah,
where the heart draws you. And if you practice that, you'll find that every holiday season will be something that you will look forward to rather than something that you dread.
exactly. Very nice. What is the biggest advice you have for humanity at this point?
So he's talking about the sovereignty, the our body and what is within our body. He says now more than ever, you're being given the opportunity to be able to explore who you really are. And this goes beyond who you are as what is my role in my family, what is my role in the community, but who am I truly inside? What are my beliefs? Am
Mm,
I expressing my beliefs in this world? Or am I oppressing them? Am I afraid that if I speak my mind, my world, my carpet will be ripped from under me? He
mm,
says, this is the time right now that you are making great change for many generations to come. And
awesome.
so you have come here with great reverence and very honorable. We see you as very honorable for being here. Please do take that opportunity to be able to share that with the rest of the world and yourself.
Awesome. So I've been working on this novel called The Boy Who Would Not See. Very complicated, but it's feels like it's being channeled. I don't know, but it incorporates a lot of what I've learned from my son Erik. But it's a fictional book, and it's about a seventh grader, and it's got a lot of funny stuff and a lot of paranormal and magical stuff, etc. Can you help me? I'll put you in the
He says
comment.
that he would be delighted to help, and he says, "Do you know that your boy Erik has become quite the writer? In
Really?
fact, not only is he working with you in channeling that book that
Mm,
you are channeling from him. He shows Erik pulling information from many different areas in the spiritual world to help bring information to you. But also, Erik has become quite a writer as he sits in on
wonderful.
many shoulders of
Oh,
those that are writing, particularly those that are writing to bring expansion to the consciousness and to the collective.
that's great. I don't know why, but ever since Erik died, I have a hard time reading. So why is that?
He says that part of it is you talking about shock. Um, he says there's some things that when you experience shock and when you experience a tragedy such as you did, and he's talking about the physical body, and
Yeah,
when you relax yourself to be able to read, because he says it takes us, we start to relax our senses, we start to calm our senses, and
true.
he says that started with started to make your mind go. You'd start
Yeah.
to read, and he's talking about drifting, starting to drift when you would
Oh,
read, but he says he just wants to let you know that because you had difficulty reading for a while or in the beginning, that it's more of the noticing you had difficulty reading and then putting that into your experience,
okay.
because he says if you change how you direct yourself at it and say that I am able to read, but you will be able to read, but he just wants me to say to you quickly that depending on what it is that you are doing in your life,
Hmm.
he says you are very directed by source
Okay.
in what you are doing. And there are times where you're going to be pulled away from reading to be
Yeah.
able to produce something else. So he
Yeah.
says, try to think of it not so much as a problem, but as a way that your spirit is directing you
Okay.
because of what you're here to do.
I like that. I like that. All right. All right. Thank you so much. Anything else you or Eric? Do you want to ask any questions? Michelle, do you have any questions before we close up?
No, this is pretty neat.
That's cool.
I was not expecting his personality like this, so this has been a lot of fun talking to
Beautiful.
him.
And it's so wise and profound.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Dickens, so much. Thank you, Eric, for bringing him in. And thank you, Michelle, for the wonderful job channeling. You guys can check her out at thehealingh-art.com. Merry Christmas. Happy
Merry
holidays, all
Christmas,
of you.
everybody.
I love you all.
Love you. Eric says, love you, Mom.
I love you more. Bye-bye.
Bye.